Hi, I'm Plushy Matt, and this is Plushy Matt Reviews Marc Brunet's Art School. This is Term 1, Week 8, and the final episode of this term. This series is made to document and share my growth whilst partaking in this course. So let's jump right in and have a look at how I got on with this week's assignments. So first up, we had some daily nude figure drawing practices. I decided to do a half-hour practice, and I thought I'd share this one with you. Just breaking it down, the half hour into the different sections: 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes. Although the assignment only called for going up to 2 minutes, I thought I'd just kind of try the extra to see how I got on with it. The next assignment was a perspective assignment, and it was to draw a 2-point perspective of a street corner. I tried to somewhat use a reference for this, but seriously, I hated doing this. I found it really boring and a little like I'm missing something from the formula. I stopped after the first building as I was just found it kind of tedious. I think if I was to repeat this, I would try and freehand and figure out the details a little more whilst ignoring the exact perspective. And then after I'd figured out the overall feel of the image, I'd then kind of correct the perspective as I went through it. And I think this would be a little bit more of a fun approach, kind of stopping the guidelines getting in the way of the creative process. Because this just felt very mathematical and formulaic as opposed to drawing and creating something interesting. So I think this went well on a technical level, but I don't think it would be how I would want to draw perspective in the future. Next up is a study. Although my splash card says characters, it is actually an environment study again, from professional artists, shows or games that I enjoy. Now, the first one I did is this cool kind of cyberpunky hot tub picture. I actually couldn't find an artist for this. It's just something I found on Pinterest. Now, I found this quite difficult as I wasn't quite sure how to break down these shapes into smaller shapes. To kind of build the whole image from, as there was actually a lot more going on in this than I first realized when I picked the reference. But I really loved kind of like the storytelling. She feels really isolated to me. And I think a lot of that is to do with the colors and the values. And I just really wanted to understand this because I kind of want a lot more storytelling as my work, which is something that I've kind of repeated a few times. Next up, we've got this from SimzArt. They do amazing illustrations with these beautiful ghost cats. So I feel it's almost like a signature. I can always tell when a SimzArt thing comes across my timeline. And yeah, they're just such beautiful and cozy environments. And studying from this was actually really, really hard. And I never know whether I'm making this easier or harder when studying perspective with to use like the Clip Studio's built-in perspective ruler, or to kind of freehand it with my own perspective ruler, like doing it myself rather than using the program to do it. And I decided to stop using it on this one. And I feel it started to work a bit better and came out better in that regards. But yeah, I feel like where it really balls this up was drawing the witch herself. As you can kind of see, the proportions are quite off. I think she kind of needs to be stretched a bit horizontally to kind of make her kind of have a more of a longer legged. Yeah, just it got kind of, she feels a bit crammed in and almost like an afterthought in this. So yeah, I think that kind of overall that actually made this personally, this makes this kind of suck. But studying the environment side of it, I do think I kind of got in the key details, and I kind of learned a bit more about trying to establish where the horizon line was and whether or not I'm using like the built-in perspective ruler. And finally, this scene from Nibelheim with Cloud and Tifa. I really love this scene. I like the story behind it. I like Tifa kind of making Cloud make that promise. My stunning of it just sucks. It just sucks. I'm not sure what I'm doing, I'll be honest with you. And I was just trying to make this scene. Yeah, I was trying to think of how the scene was laid out to kind of do the storytelling. You can kind of see I chucked a couple of guidelines between Tifa's head and Cloud's head. I know that your kind of like eyes are drawn to Tifa with some of the lighting. And then with where she's then looking off to Cloud, who's then looking away. That kind of makes this diagonal line. And I could kind of figure that out. But then to kind of recreate that, I was just really struggling. Like the proportions are off, the spacings are all off. Um, yeah, I think I managed to figure out that stuff well, but I didn't translate it into my actual art. So and I do think, you know, it is one thing to kind of understand art, but then to actually use your understanding in what you've drawn is a completely different skill set. But and hopefully it's something that comes. The more I learn this stuff, the more I do these studies. Hopefully that is something that comes to me uh, more easily. But yeah, this is something I definitely want to understand more. So that is actually it for this week. Not much content wise, but that was the final episode of term one. And the next episode, I'll just be doing a brief kind of recap of everything I've learned in term one, look at my progress, and then kind of seeing what I've learned and where I can improve most importantly. I'm hoping that we can kind of look through everything and then really put together something where I can kind of go, okay, here's my strengths, here's my weaknesses, and then work out what opportunities we can find for me to grow. Which it hopefully will be really fun. I'll enjoy it certainly. But thanks for stopping by, and I shall see you next week.